ամենաանտիրը կամ ոչինչ։ Հողի H2O ջրի պես է խմբվում։
Professor Dr. Armեն Sարգսյան. He's a person who is the president of our state, Saxony-Anhalt. Those persons are now in a complete other sectors, but have a background in Asian science and able to analyze complex problems. And, welcome to the Minister for Business.
The banks and everything was there. Then a lot of multinational companies in Armenia strength. The strength of a small state.
So my name is Ruslan Valiev. I'm from from Azerbaijan, and my question is, since we talked about youngness, about revolutions, and I might get drift from the topic like you did, so I hope you don't mind too. My question is, very young people, like most people who are sitting here, when they were young, in Azerbaijan there was between Armenia and Azerbaijan the place Karabakh, you probably know. There was a conflict, so my question is, you as a president, as a new president of Armenia, what are you going to do about this conflict, so you can, what's your innovating idea to solve this problem where a lot of people, Azerbaijani people were killed, and you can go to YouTube, like you said, it's 21st century, you can look for what happened there and how many thousand people suffered and still suffer, because it was in 92, so not much time.
Well, I'm not in a position in 2 or 3 minutes to answer your question. No, you sit down, Ruslan. Sit down. Thank you, Ruslan, for the question. I think from the human point of view, it's great tragedy what happened between Armenia and Azerbaijan and in Nagorno-Karabakh. I think lives were lost, not only in Azerbaijan, but in Nagorno-Karabakh and in Armenia as well. I think we have to do everything possible to create just and peace for many years ahead. Will it be easy? No. But should we try to do it now? Yes. Otherwise, your children will be standing and my children will be standing here and the same question will be raised. So it's the time to resolve it. Thank you.
Ohanesyan Harud. Yes, and my question is, so we're in the 21st century, you said, it's fast. A lot of people are rising and doing incredible things. What about the people that, let's say, don't rise? Is society developed enough to not let them fall, to give them a second chance? For example, you gave an example actually, which was an answer already to my question. That's why it's a little bit now late. It would have been better as the first question, but that the companies are taking the students and integrating it to the company. That way, they have a plan B. But in the global picture, not a lot of companies maybe are doing that. Companies have their goals, and universities want to produce students, and so it's for rising stars. Okay, Google is amazing, it worked, but what about these other thousands of people trying and not making it, and then falling, and they don't have a plan B?
Okay. I mean, the plan B is very simple. Try to find your talent. I mean, you are trying to become an engineer or a software engineer, mathematician, physicist. You are not. Example, I have my second grandson, his name is Armեն Sարգսյան. His father is Armenian, his mother is American, he's blonde and nice boy. Armեն Sարգսյան, he should become physicist. No. I think he's going to become a footballer. No, don't laugh. Because he has so much energy, so much stamina. And every day after the lunch, I think we have to find something because he runs around the table non-stop. I think an example of that, everybody has a talent. Not everybody should be politician, musician, or a doctor, or engineer. No, find your talent. Find something that you really love to do it. So otherwise, it's one life. Don't do things that you don't enjoy. Don't get married with people that you don't love. Don't have friendship with people that you don't trust them. Don't do things that you are that are not in harmony with you. It's one life, and after those who are your loved ones on this planet, you have one thing which is important. It's your time. It's limited. When you are young, you think it's forever. It's not. Charles Aznavour has a wonderful song which is called Yeranka. It's yesterday when I was young. Beautiful song. Listen to it. At the end he says, well, now I'm old. I look back and I am unhappy that a part of my life I have wasted. And there are another 1,000 songs in me that I will not write. Why? Because the time comes to an end. You still have the talent. He wrote 1,000 songs, but he could have been writing another 1,000. What ended? Time. Time is yours. Be honest to you. Don't lie to you. That's the worst thing in your life. Find your talent. Maybe you're a carpenter. Maybe you are just a fantastic listener. Go to the pub, sit there, people will find you. Just have a nice beer and listen to people. Or maybe you are a clergyman. You give comfort to people. You explain things that others don't think about it. Find yourself who you are. Director, ladies and gentlemen, I think I will start with two small remarks. One of them, I think I'm in the right place, in the right country, and in the right region. I'm in the right country because your president of your government, the chancellor, she's also a physicist, like me. And I'm in the right region because the president of your government is also a physicist. So welcome to the 21st century, the 2010 where everything will be run by physicists. I don't know, do you like it or not? But at least they will bring some common sense, some logic, some organization and discipline of thinking. So that's my first remark, that I'm really happy being here, at the right place. Now if I looked at the title of this presentation, I was scared. I think it is about innovation, post-Soviet, and the words, yes? I think I will rather change it. Can I? Sure, okay. Let's call it the importance of being young. Because I was showed 2 labs at least where basically the research is going on, how dancing will contribute for individuals to be young. So I think it's important. And this is not, it's an accident that I'm here, accident from the point of view of God, that I'm here, I was in the lab, and it was about being young. Because internally all of my life I was thinking, what does it mean to be young? Is it the number of the years? And when you are 16 years old, you think, oh my God, this lady is so old, she's 30 years old. And when you are 30, you think, what are these kids who are 16 years old? And it goes on and on and on. I mean, what is age? Is it the number of the years that you have lived, or something else? I think your research here proves that, for me at least, that the way I was thinking about age and being young is true. We are young, and our youngest age is when we are kids. Yeah? So what do we do when we are born? We know nothing. We have this fantastic computer inside us, which is called our brain and genetic codes there, but we know nothing. And we start learning from the day one and start communicating. And we're phenomenal, because in 1 year, we know so much about this world. Out of 0, we know, we understand, we start talking, we start touching, and so on and so forth. So then, from age 1 to 2, from 2 to 3, we'll continue learning and learning and learning. When do we start aging? My definition of that is that we start aging when we start slowing down in learning. We start slowing down on being happy with discovery. When we don't discover every day something new. And when we don't discover something new, we don't learn something new, we're not active mentally and physically as well, then I think we start aging. Again, remember when we were small, what we were doing? We were playing. The moment we stop playing, we start aging. When we're young, what we're doing? Like crazy, going to nightclubs when you're 16, 17, 18, dancing the whole night. So why don't we do the same thing when we're 60 or 70? I know people, to be honest, that continue doing that and they remain very, very young. And one of them is a good friend of mine who was 94 this year and he died. He dies very young. His name was Charles Aznavour. If you remember, the great musician and the singer. Charles was much older than me in his age, but he was as young as me and probably as young as you, because in 94 he was giving concerts, real concerts, more than an hour, singing, and also dancing on the stage. And he was absolutely alert, was interested in what was happening. In the meantime, free time, he was Armenia's ambassador to Switzerland. He was very much involved with what was happening in Armenia, what was happening in the world, and someone that was living a creative life. Writing new poems and writing new music every day. So, what is it to be young? I think it's not the number of the years. I'm sure each of you have met people who are 16 or 20, but they are already old. They are not interested, they are not active, they have sort of a one-dimensional or two or three-dimensional life. They don't live multi-dimensional life in their lives. And you have met, I'm sure in your life, people who are 70, 60, 70, 80, 90, but are living a full life. So one of the parameters or components of being young is your physical activity, which we'll learn today. And the physical activity, which at the end of the day, it was great that we show that it's connected with dancing. Because dancing is not just a physical activity. I never understood people just in the morning just running in a park. I understand the people that have their earphones and have music in their ears and they're running with the music. I understand more those who are not running but dancing, which is the same physical activity. So I think the more complex life we live, the more active life we live, the younger we are. Okay? And very important that every day we learn something new. I think about your life. I have grandchildren, and my grandchildren, we have taught them, in fact not me, but their parents, that every evening they pray. But that's not a classical praying. They pray thanking God for the day. Thanking God for, God, thank you very much. We had a fantastic time with our grandma. We went to have ice cream and all of the nice things. But also they are encouraged to also think what they have learned during the day. And if you are a bit older, are we thinking at the end of the day, what is that we have learned today? Is there anything new? Is there anything useful? Because if you are learning, if there's something new in your life at school consists of early morning, the long breakfast, and the huge long path from home to school, and every class which is 45 minutes, it's like forever. And the whole day is long. It's theory of relativity. I think your time is relative and depends on your speed. The connection is pretty simple. Okay? We live a life when we are older, if we don't have creative life, we don't have active life, if we don't learn anything, if we don't have proper communication. It's like, good morning, good night, good morning, good night. That Happy New Year, Merry Christmas. And then the year finishes. I think my point is, it's in our hands to be young and to live a life, a full life, that will be as young as when you were 16, 36, 65, and 94. Doesn't matter. Now, 21st century, the century of young people. I'm sure that you all recognize that. In Europe, in Russia, in many other countries, one of the biggest problems is demography. The problem of demography in China, huge problem. The problem of demography in India, and the anti-problem in a place like Russia. For a place like Russia, Europe or America are not the big threats. The big threat is demography, because that country has around 140 million population, is not growing, and look at the size of the country. In Germany, what's the biggest problem? Demography. And I'm happy that in this city that also has some demographic issues, and with you are young people, because you are the future. Now, two things about being young, important of being young, and 21st century. 21st century is going to be different than it was in 20th. And because I am who I am, I finished a book which is called The Quantum Behavior of Global Risks. It doesn't mean that you use the quantum mechanics to describe them, but it's clearly that the risks and the social events, policies, behavior, political activities are not going to be classical. Look what's happening in the world. I mean, you look at the neighboring country, France. Someone young, energetic, created a movement in several months and won the elections and became the president of France. Would have been possible years ago. Now you have to go to classical, you have to be a member of the political party, you have to be growing inside the party, becoming the leader of the party. But, good morning, it's 21st century. You have to go through the newspapers, briefings of your press secretary. No, good morning, we're in the 21st century. You just tweet, Mr. Trump is 21st century. He's using that very effectively, like Kennedy was using television. Like his predecessors were using the radio. Because most of the people, they don't read big articles in Financial Times. They get a short message, to the point, right or wrong doesn't matter, but the message is there. And he addresses millions of people. I was traveling in Uzbekistan, in Samarkand, and the driver who was driving me, in the meantime when he was not driving me, was looking at his smartphone. I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm reading Mr. Trump's tweets. I was shocked. What? Yes, he was reading because the Trump tweets are translated into Russian, and you can read them. So a driver living in Samarkand, Uzbekistan, is interesting. This is 21st century. The world is run quantumly. Individuals matter. Took how the industries are run. The classical industries were 19th, 20th century. Big companies, a lot of energy, a lot of organization, discipline from top, the chairman, the board, the CEO going down. Now, even the big companies in the world, if you look at the list, did they start like that? No. Microsoft, Google, Facebook, and so on. How do they start? Well, the legend is that they have all started in a garage. But not in a garage, it's just a couple of young, highly energized people having an idea that didn't go through the classical way of finishing university, getting a PhD, becoming head of a department, then CEO, then the chairman, but they just did a quantum flop from one position to the other. So it's not classical, from point A to point B, you just you jump. So 21st century. Even the big companies now realizing that the next phase of development is going to be unleashing the power of innovation and new type of research and development. So because the information, the amount of information and the quality of information is so high, so you can be educated while be sitting in your home. My other son is running a big company of his own, which is in cybersecurity. Do you think he goes to his office every day in the morning? One of his offices is in Silicon Valley, the other one is in France, the third one is in St. Petersburg. What does he do? Because he used to be a student in the United States, every morning leaving his children, early in the morning he goes to Starbucks. Do you think that because of they have the best coffee? No. Because it's the sort of environment when you were a student, you go there with your computer, you sit down. Even big companies. I was recently in France, I went to Thales, a great, huge French company, went to Dassault, and went to Leonardo. All of them are doing the same thing. They have the classical company from up to down, and what they also have, in Thales they have created something which is called digital factory. So you go to Thales, the engineers, nicely dressed, white shirt, very organized, doing the job which is planned from the top, from the board, coming down and so on. Huh? Don't you hear me? Yeah. And then they are creating artificial startup environment, which is called digital factory. They opened the door for me. I said, wow, and then it's another Starbucks. Young people dress whatever they like, sitting however they like, small groups. Just what does the company? It's just very simple. You are a startup. The only difference is you don't have to raise the seed money. I'll give it to you. You are free. Do whatever you like to do. But give me your talent and your innovation. That's the 21st century. So, welcome to 21st century, the century of young people. The century of where you are going to be running it. Probably differently than us. And I hope that all of you will stay young for many years. And as a conclusion of what I was saying, is to be young, I think you have to learn something new every day. And be happy of discovering something every day. Be happy that you are amazed and shocked that, wow, I think this word, wow. With age you lose it. Everything's the same. I think, well, this is something that I've known. Well, I know that. I know this one. I'm not amazed with the third one. Then you start aging. Keep young. Do your physical training, dance. Get in love, or stay in love with your wife for 50 years. Then you are young. Now, about Armenia. Otherwise, it will be all about young people. That's the time. Armenia is young. If anybody has doubts, it's very simple. Go back in YouTube. You'll find that 6-7 months ago in Armenia we had a revolution. I was elected and my inauguration as president was 9th of April. In 2-3 days' time, the former president became prime minister. And then there was a revolution that happened in 2 weeks. And it was, again, not classical, it was quantum. 10 young boys and girls started walking from the North Armenia to the south. 10 became 100, 100 became 1,000, 1,000 became 50,000, and then 100,000, and we had a revolution. Okay? No party, no political party, no organization, Facebook. Hi guys, we want to close this street. Who is we? Which street? Why? Doesn't matter. There's a network. And it works. Works in a way that hi guys means another 500 young and boys and girls who were a part of the network. They just close the street. Hi guys, I want everybody on the square at 7 o'clock. Where's the organization? Nothing. Everybody was there. So it's 21st century, quantum behavior. And why Armenia had that revolution? Some call it Velvet Revolution comes some called the Armenian style. It was blood, without big confrontation. And I think we can be proud that we did that. But the core of that is that we are a young nation. We are hundreds of thousands, boys and girls, and using smartphones, digital units is a must. And there are millions of Armenians, several times in our Armenian population, there are 3.5 million, but we have 4 or 5 times more Armenians living in California, New York, in Moscow, everywhere. Okay? They were involved in what was happening in Armenia. I mean, physically involved in a sense, not physically, but virtually involved. Everybody was writing opinion, everybody was supporting, so on and so forth. That's, again, welcome to 21st century. And if you come to Armenia, I'll be very happy, as I offered visits to Armenia, to show you that it's really a 21st century country, and it's growing very fast, because it's a country without big natural resources. But the biggest resource is human activity, education, science. Armenia is one of the leading countries in IT technology in the region. And because of that, we have fantastic financial services, banks, international banks. We had a revolution, nothing changed in the economy. Everything stable. The currency, the banks, and everything was stable. And a lot of multinational companies in Armenia are doing research, like big American companies from Silicon Valley. That's the strength. The strength of a small state, but a global nation. That becomes a real strength when you have a globalized world, when everybody is connected, when living in California is not a handicap, it's an added value, and so on and so forth. So, I think as a professor, I'm used to speak non-stop 45 minutes, but I should stop here, because otherwise there'll be no time. Again, we'll be late from the next meeting. I'll be very happy if you have questions. I'll be happy to answer them. But the title of my small intervention was not that one, but I tried to cover some of the aspects of that title, but it was a very simple title: The Importance of Being Young. Thank you.